Hey everybody, welcome back to German Driver. My name is Chris. Welcome to the 2016 BMW M235i. Let me explain. Okay, first, I have a 6 or 7 minute commute into the office. I'm going to try and kick this out in that amount of time. This long 3-week story, but here we go. 2-year experiment with both the 2008 and 2015 Cayman has come to an end. It really is not the greatest car as a daily in New England. When I get to the point in my life when I'm able to actually have one as a warm day car, meanwhile with having another daily, fine, I'll probably go back to one. Hopefully I'll be able to get a 911 instead. Okay, 3 weeks ago, started searching for its replacement. I was actually leaning more towards a Golf R, but I still have my Mark 7 GTI, and it was kind of, similar to it, so I didn't want two similar cars. So I pretty much started looking for an Audi S3, pretty much the same thing as the Golf R, a little bit more luxurious, in my opinion, a little bit more aggressive looking on the outside. So I went back to CarMax, jumped on CarMax's website. That's where I bought the Cayman. And after talking with them for a little bit, I was able to get an awesome trade-in value for the Cayman because I bought it with them. So I found a 2016 Audi S3, about 20,000 miles, and it was down in North Carolina. Beautiful monsoon gray, black leather interior, bunch of really great options, and the price was great. Waited 2 or 3 days for it to get delivered here. It was delivered here. Took it out for a test ride. Loved it. Traded the Cayman in. So fun fact, I tried to trade in my car as it was with the 20-inch wheels and tires. They would accept it, but they would actually give me $2,000 more on my trade-in if I put the original 18-inch wheels and tires back on the car because they wanted it back to stock as completely as possible. So I ran home for lunch and swapped out the wheels and tires. So trading in the Cayman for the S3, finished up signing the paperwork at like 9:30 on a Friday night, 2 Friday nights ago. Pouring rain, drove the car home, everything was great. Saturday morning, get up, jump in the car to head into the office. Beautiful Saturday morning, 70 degrees, have all the windows down, and I'm noticing some bumping in the back of the car. Come to find out, it is coming from the shocks, the rear shock mounts. And there was, in 2016, there was a service bulletin sent out for these cars, specifically for that reason. I called up the original dealership in North Carolina, Flo Audi in, I think it was Greensboro. Lucky enough to get a hold of the service manager when I called service, and gave him the VIN number just to double check to see if this service bulletin was completed. And after a couple of hem and haws and a few ums and a few that cars, I was very appreciative because he was very upfront and honest with me, and he's very familiar with this car because the customer that bought this car brand new from them actually tuned the shit out of it and blew the motor. He said that they had to do almost a total engine rebuild on the car, a few other bits and pieces to the transmission, and he did admit that it was not reported to anybody. In other words, it was nowhere on the Carfax. And completely grateful that he was this upfront and honest. You usually don't get this from service departments. So immediately I hung up the phone with him, called up my salesperson, and even though it was like seven days since I had the S3, a total 7 days since I had the S3, after their 5-day, return policy, I was like, no, this car is going back, because I actually also come to find out the factory warranty is null and void because the guy tuned the shit out of it and blew the engine. So CarMax was completely in agreement, bending over backwards for me, apologizing all over the place. They had no idea what was wrong with the car because it wasn't reported to Carfax, and also later on, when I was talking with them, that the auction house also didn't report any of this information, so they had no idea. So they agreed that any other car that I wanted on their network, that they'll waive any transfer fee. So we started looking for another S3. Eventually we found a 2017 S3 in Maryland. Had less miles, about half the miles, probably about 10,000 miles. Was a little bit more expensive than the one that I got, but it was also kind of nice because it was the facelift, the 2017 S3. So it had the better looking front end, the better looking rear end, and also had the full digital cockpit in the front, which was actually pretty cool. And pretty much the same options and tech that I had in the S3 that I bought. So we agreed to start having that one transferred up from Maryland. In the meantime, just for shits, I went onto CarMax's website and was just browsing around, seeing what other cars they had, seeing if anything else sparked an interest. I had limited myself to another Volkswagen product, and that's all I've owned for like the past 15 years. Is whether it's a bunch of GTIs, a couple Jettas, or GLIs thrown in there, and then of course the 2 Porsches. So I started expanding my horizons a little bit. Now I've to other German cars. I wasn't looking at Japanese. I wasn't looking at American. So there was BMW or Mercedes. Mercedes I've never been a fan of. I've driven many of them. Working at the dealership, as far as running the pre-owned lot, I had driven many, and the interiors don't do much for me. The exteriors don't do much for me. The drive is okay, like really any German car. You really can't go wrong with any German car. But so I looked into BMW. Now I've driven a few in the past, never owned one before. So I was mainly paying attention to the 335s or the 435s. I wanted that engine. I still wanted a 6-cylinder. And even though, yes, the S3 was the 4-cylinder turbo, I kind of wanted to see what was available for the 6. Nothing on their website was really doing much for me. Quite a few of the 335i's, they were high mileage, or like over 30,000 miles. Mostly all of them were black. I just didn't want to deal with that. So what kind of struck my interest is CarMax had quite a few of BMW's M235i's. So I started looking more and more. They had quite a few of them. What was funny was they actually had one on the lot in the CarMax in my town, right here. They had a silver one. They had a 2016 silver one, 9,800 miles. Just a bit more expensive than the S3 that I had got, and a bit less expensive than the 2017 S3 that I was coming in. So, just for shits, I called up my salesperson and went down for a quick test drive. Semi-loved it. Of course, I was talking with the salesperson. The salesperson was there. Really wasn't able to really use it very much. To really, spend like 5 minutes to get the seat exactly the way that I wanted, to get everything dialed in. So it was a very good test drive, and I kind of liked it. Went home, did a little more research, forums, YouTube, whatever. Started to pique my interest a little bit more. Called up my salesperson again, went down for a deeper test drive. I asked her to stay inside, and I really just spent probably like 20 minutes just sitting in the car, going through things, going through the iDrive system, seeing how it connects to the iPhone, adjusting the seats. Finally told her, okay, let's go out for another test drive. Went through a lot of twisty, curvy roads, rather than the pretty much the highway test drive that we did before, and it really started to impress me. So much so that I actually asked them to stop the transfer for the S3, and that I would actually take the BMW. And it was interesting. I never thought that I would move that quickly, but long story short, between the comparison between the Cayman and the S3, coming from a Cayman, it's just so difficult to go to anything else unless you go something higher, like a like a 911 or something. But the Cayman drove so well, and the handling was so well. Now, granted, it wasn't very fast. My base Cayman wasn't very fast, but everything else about it was absolutely perfect. Now, the BMW, is not a Cayman, but I would say it's right in between an S3 and the Cayman as far as how close it is to the drive of a Cayman. The silver isn't my favorite color, although it works great on this car, especially with the black accents on the outside. What I really fell in love with is the interior. these red Dakota leather seats are perfect. This color is great. Now, I've seen a bunch of other BMWs with the full red interior, and that's just absolutely disgusting. Red carpet, red everywhere. This is just right with black pretty much everywhere except for the seats, and the leather door cards are red, and it's phenomenal. I love it so much. And also, I'm not sure if I've mentioned this yet, this is an X-Drive version. So, you know, winter comes along, I throw on some cheap wheels and tires, and it will have all-wheel drive for the wintertime, which will be great. Oh, I haven't even mentioned the horsepower. Now, a 335 or a 435, they have the same 3-liter turbocharged engine. They're at 300 horsepower and 300 pound-feet of torque. The M235i, BMW massaged it a little bit, 320 horsepower and 330 pound-feet of torque. And let me tell you, coming from a Cayman with 203 pound-feet of torque to this BMW with 330 pound-feet of torque, it's night and day. It's absolutely smile-inducing. So that's it. Thanks for watching this. I'll try and whittle this down to a quick explanation video. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more videos of the BMW, and thanks for subscribing. Like the video, and talk with you soon. See ya.